Hello happy campers, my name's Nikki and welcome back to Yougo Camping. So today we're going to talk about how to prolong the life of your tent. Tents can be really expensive, or they can be really cheap, but generally if you want a good one you're going to have to spend a bit of money on it. We're talking probably around about £200 or more, especially for the bigger ones. They can range all the way up to sort of £600–700, sometimes even over £1,000. And it depends what you want. If you want a specialised tent, so like a very lightweight for backpackers, they can normally be really expensive too. So it's always worth, if you're going to spend money on your equipment, to make sure that you can prolong the life of it and keep it for as long as you possibly can. That way you can enjoy many happy weekends away and weeks away with your family and your friends. So I'm going to talk you through some of the things that you need to do with your tent or to your tent to make sure that it can be kept in the best condition properly. And some of those things include how to store it. Some of those things include what to do while you're away with your tent, and of course how to put it away between uses. So one of the first things you need to do when you've got your tent is to ensure that it's waterproof. If you've got a brand new tent straight out the bag, the chances are it's going to be absolutely fine. But it's always worth putting it up in your garden or in your local sports field just to check, just to make sure. Use a bit of watering can to make it a little bit wet just to make sure that everything is working. And the main thing is to check those seams, because that's the bit that lets in most of the water. If you are finding that your tent is letting in a little bit of water, you need to look at where that's coming from. If it's a hole in your tent, you might need to get a tent repair kit and see if you can get it repaired properly. If it's not economical, it might be time to say goodbye to your tent. If it's a seam, that generally means that we just need to put a little bit of waterproof tape over it and just to make sure it's fully waterproofed. If you're finding that your tent just feels a bit damp, it's always worth going over it with some waterproofing spray. So a little bit of Nick Wax is a good idea. You can get proper solar proofing Nick Wax. This is actually proofing for gear. But you can get proper solar proofing Nick Wax, spray it all over your tent, and it should hopefully restore the waterproof level ready for your next trip. And this is especially important to do if you've been on a particularly rainy trip, because as we all know, water just carries on and it pools in wherever it can get. So make sure that every time you go for a rainy trip, bring it home, put it up, put some waterproofing over the top of it again, and you should be ready to go. The next tip is about keeping your tent clean. Now, no one wants to be a camping Mrs. Hinch, but it is worth trying to keep your tent a little bit clean. So if you're using a footprint, that's a really great way of keeping the ground sheet clean. If you're not, that's okay. Just make sure you brush it off when you fold your tent up. And if you've got some dirt or some grass inside your tent, don't forget to just give it a little sweep and just keep everything a lot fresher in there. Dirt and mud does tend to degrade fabrics quite a bit, so the more you can get it off, the much better. Now, one of the things a lot of people have trouble with is the zips on their tent. I hear regularly about tents whose zips have got stuck and people have tried to yank them and it ends up that they can't actually move. So what I recommend doing is running a little bit of wax along the teeth of your zips. This means that the zip will run a lot smoother and will hopefully mean that your tent will last a little bit longer and you shouldn't have to fight with any zips that won't come undone in the morning when you desperately need a wee. Now, when you're inside your tent, it can feel like you just want to get straight in your tent and snuggle under your sleeping bag and go to sleep. But it's really important to try and keep your outside shoes out of your tent. So if you've got a small porch like this one's got, then make sure your shoes stay in there, because again, you're going to keep the mud and the dirt out of them. If you haven't got a porch, we recommend a really cheap shower cap. Pop your shoes in the shower cap, that keeps the dirt and the mud away from them. And again, if you have got some dirt and mud, just sweep it out when it's dry. It's much easier. Now, if you have been unfortunate enough to go away when it's rainy, and let's face it, it's the UK, that's probably going to happen quite quickly, make sure that you try and put your tent away when it's dry. This isn't as easy as it sounds, and I can already hear people going, what if it's rained my whole trip? And I understand. I did a whole 12-day trip around Scotland where it rained every single day. And driving home with drip, 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 drip. It's not fun. So what I recommend in that situation, put your tent down as best as you possibly can, shake it off before you put it down so you've got most of the water droplets out. And then once you get home, see if you can hang it up. Now this could be hanging it over a clothes horse, hanging it over the bath, or putting it up in your garden if you possibly can do, just so that the rest of the tent can dry out properly. This really helps to prolong the life of your tent, and it really will mean that you can keep your tent a bit longer, and hopefully the waterproofing will last a bit longer as well. So thank you very much, guys. If you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop us a comment in the comment section below, and we will see you next time for another video. See you later.